philosophy here during the session this afternoon. So the first paper is a joint paper. This is Allard Tamminga, and his co-author is over here, Hein, and they will both be taking questions, I understand. So without further ado, I'll hand you over. The title is Collective Obligations, Group Plans and Individual Actions. And as you heard, he's going to give a whiteboard presentation, so it's probably better to position yourself over there.
Welcome to my talk. Basically I'm going to present a theorem, and in my experience, it's also true for me. If people give a formal talk using an electronic presentation, most of the audience is lost within 5 minutes. So this is actually not my plan. I made a handout, and the handout contains the abstract of my talk, it is here.
Oh, so we're just telling us.
On the handout are several definitions and also formulations of the theorem. But basically, the theorem is about the relation between collective obligations on the one hand and the things that individuals want to do in order to make sure that these collective obligations are fulfilled. So, to get some grip on it, I work with very, very basic models, and I call these models coordination games. So, a coordination game is in fact a strategic game, but utilities are all gone, and the only thing that I say about a certain action profile is that it is beyond the ideal or not beyond the ideal. So let me just give an example of it. Think of 2 players. Player I has 2 available options, choosing up or choosing down, and there is also another player, player J. This player also has 2 options, namely playing left or playing right. And now suppose that the action profiles here are going to be ideal, and that the action profile here is also going to be ideal, but this one is not. You could ask yourself now, if I am one of these individual agents, I or J, what is the best thing that I could do? And best means choosing an action that is promoting the deontic ideality in the best way. Obviously, if you choose up when you are agent I, then you will ensure that no matter what the other agent is doing, you reach an action profile that is deontically ideal. Something similar holds for the other agent J. So what I now did was that I illustrated the notion of being dominant with this very simple 2-player game, and you could, in this way, this is what is being done in the paper, define the actions that are deontically optimal for individuals. So these actions that promote deontic ideality best, if you consider the actions that are available to an individual agent. Now you could use the same definition, and this is what we do in the paper, to say something about the actions that the group perform. And the actions that the group can perform here consist of, so let us just have a look at the actions that are available to the individual agents. The actions of the group consisting of I and J are just given by the Cartesian product of the actions that are available to the members of the group, and in this case it is just a combination of all the no assumptions about the structure of groups. I make no distinction between corporate obligations and collective obligations. And I think this level of generality here is an advantage rather than a drawback, because given this take on group obligations that I'm going to present shortly, it will already be possible to prove some interesting results. Okay, so the action that the group, the actions that are available to the group consisting of I and J are just to assure a particular action profile. Here, you would say that the optimal actions that the group consisting of I and J could take are just this one, and this one. Because these are the three actions that promote the only ideality if I and J work together. So what you now see is one, okay, so there are two ones to be made. The actions that are available to H and I, so the optimal ones, this is just the first one. And the optimal actions that are available to J is just left. The optimal actions that are available to the group consisting of I and J are the three ones here on the right. And okay, so this is what holds in a pretty general way. It is not necessarily the case that an optimal group action, for instance, this one, is composed of actions that are individually optimal. On the other hand, it also does hold that if you have a combination of actions that are individually optimal, then you always have an action that is optimal for a group. For instance, if you would have this situation, then there is no dominance relation among the actions that are available to the individuals. So, according to the weak dominance definition, no of these individual actions is strongly dominated by one of the others. According to the definitions that I use, and they are very much in line, for instance, with John Hardy's work on ionic logic. So, if you take any combination of these, this is not necessarily an optimal group action. So, the group actions that are optimal in this situation are just these two. And now it is the case if, let's say, agent I performs top or up and agent J performs left, then this is the collective action they realize that this is not an optimal group action. So what we see is that optimal individual actions and optimal group actions, they do not match. And this situation can be addressed, and we address it in the paper by coming up with the notion that if a certain group has a group obligation, then it should make, or the members of the group should make a plan. And this plan says to each individual agent in the group what this individual agent ought to do to make sure that the group itself fulfills its group obligation. So, to fulfill an obligation within our framework is to perform an optimal action and to make sure that a group fulfills its obligation, its group obligation. The group has to ensure that somehow one of these optimal group actions is being performed. Now, in this case, the high-low game that is now on the whiteboard, the group should make you could say that the member obligations that are generated by this plan can just be read off from the plan. So a plan highlights particular group actions, and by highlighting particular group actions, the constituent individual actions in these group actions are also highlighted. And this is the way I would like to render the notion of a member obligation. Okay, what we now have is a double perspective on what an individual ought to do. First, we have the notion of performing an individual optimal action. This is one thing. And the second thing is that we have the notion of fulfilling a member obligation. And the question now is, can we say something about the relation between, on the one hand, fulfilling an individual obligation, and on the other hand, fulfilling a member obligation? And this question is relevant in several ways to the notion of collective responsibility, because you want to make sure that a plan has the following properties. A plan should at least support the conditional. If every individual member acts according to plan, and the group itself fulfills its group obligation. Yeah? And there are plans that would not fulfill or would not support this condition. So they could also, INJ, agree upon the following plan. Okay, so this is a thought model, but the result we have is pretty general. Okay, so INJ could also agree upon this plan, and this would mean that the actions that are allowed for by the plan for H and I are up and down, and the actions that are allowed for H and J are just left and right. So the group obligations, yes. So it is possible in this case that every member of the group fulfills its member obligations based on the plan, without the group fulfilling its group obligation. So if agent I chooses up and agent J chooses left, then this will be the resulting action profile, and this is an action profile that is not optimal, and this is an action profile that is not optimal for the group IJ. So what we want is a notion of, we want some properties of group plans that support the conditional. If every individual group member acts according to plan, then the group itself fulfills its group obligation. And we have seen that not all plans have this characteristic. So the two characteristics that we need are not only that the group plan only consists of optimal group actions, because this is fulfilled in this particular plan. So this is an optimal group action, it is underlined here. This is an optimal group action, because it is underlined here. But still, we know that this plan does not support this condition. We need something else, and the second thing that we need is that the plan should be what we call interchangeable. It is a kind of closure property. The notion of interchangeability goes back to a paper by John Nash in '51, and interchangeable is a property that sets of action profiles can have, we will see that this plan is not interchangeable. But what we do have is that if a plan is what we call optimal, only consists of optimal group actions, and is interchangeable, then it has this property that if every group member acts according to plan, and the group itself fulfills an optimal group action. Okay, interchangeability means that every combination of individual component actions of one of the action profiles in the group is also a group action that is found This one is not interchangeable because you can have AI and AJ. If you take them together, then this is again a new group action, and this group action is not part of the plan. Okay, so what we have seen now is that if the group plan is optimal and interchangeable, then it supports this conditional. But, and this is what the theorem is about, such a group plan also has what we call a certain update property. So if you accept and publicly agree upon a certain plan, then the ontic optimality of the original coordination game is changed. And it is changed because it is now, there is now an extra condition on the ontic ideality. You would say one of the extra conditions is also that you act according to plan. Okay, so the updating property that I'm talking about, hence, is the relation between coordination games, plans, and coordination games. This plan actually does nothing, because it highlights group actions that are already deontically optimal, and the updated property says, okay, so only keep deontic optimality as long as the action profile is a possible outcome of the group action in the plan. So there are actually two conditions for being retained in a plan. So first is, we say that an action profile A is deontically optimal in the updated. So this one S, and this one is the coordination game that you get by updating this coordination game by that plan. So on the handout. And this is on page 2, the last 3 lines. We say that an action profile A is deontically ideal in the updated coordination game if and only if the action profile A was deontically ideal in the original coordination game here. And secondly, the group's component action of that action profile is a group action in the plan. So we now have group actions that are directly also action profiles. So this one ensures that this one is retained, and this one ensures that also this outcome is deontically ideal. First, we had the impression that agreeing upon this plan actually solves the coordination problem. And of course, this is correct. So if you would now update this coordination game with this particular plan, then you end up with this new coordination. And this is what the theorem is about. In this new coordination game, you can, independently of the plan, again, find out what are the individually optimal actions. And if you have a look at this one, then the optimal actions in the updated coordination game for agent I, that's just the one on top. Likewise, the optimal actions in the coordination game for the other one is just AJ prime. And now what you see is that the actions that are prescribed by the plan, the member obligation, so to say, for agent I is quite some difficulty of proving this theorem in full generality. So it is not necessary for our theorem that these group actions are in fact action profiles. There might be other agents that also play a role in a certain coordination game. Apart from this, what we did was that we embedded our result in the philosophical literature on the one hand on team reasoning, the stuff that is being done by Robert Sutton, and the stuff that was done by Michael Becker, and on the other hand, we also made a connection with the literature on joint agency, the work of Michael Becker talks about intentionality as the acceptance of plans that then are a filter of admissibility, and we can do something similar here. So by agreeing upon a plan, the actions that are admissible for a group, so this one was optimal and this one was optimal, are filtered this one. So what we did in the paper was that we embedded our theorem in the economics literature, in the philosophical literature, at least to make the case that this result is relevant for the people who work in these areas. And this is also what I hope to have done in this talk. Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. We have about 11-12 minutes for questions. So as this morning, please identify yourselves when you put your hand up. So any questions? Yeah.
Hi, I'm Tamminga from Murdoch. Point of view, my question sounds a bit naive because I'm not, too familiar with this kind of, game theory stuff. So I'm just wondering, so what you've basically established works for all those games where there's, or for those coordination games where there's no dominant strategy or no, right? Because if you have a dominant one, then the individual action of choice is the same as the optimal group plan. I'm not sure. I'm expressing myself very well.
It is even more general. So the notion of dominance, the notion of weak dominance, is being used to define a relation on the actions that are available to individual agents, but also the actions that are available to collective agents. And the definition is as simple as it is straightforward. So the things that are optimal for an agent, irrespective of whether it is an individual or a collective, the things that are optimal for it are just the actions that are not strictly dominated by any other action that is available to that agent. So in this case, you would say now the actions that are available to agent I are up and down, and it is not the case that up strongly dominates down, and it is not the case that down strongly dominates up. So the optimal actions that are available to agent I are just up and down together. Does it answer your question?
Well, I guess what there seems to be this distinction between those situations where you say group individual obligations sort of are not the same when you started out, are not the same as sort of the optimal the group sort of optimal group plan. I think is sort of you can see that it comes apart, and then the individual members optimal actions, they can come apart. It was what you started out with, and that seemed to be the case for different kinds of games with different types of strategies available. Right?
But it is already true for this simple coordination game. So if, as I just argued, the optimal actions both actions, and the optimal actions that are available to agent J are also both actions, then agent I can perform up and agent J can perform left, and then we end up in a situation that is, this is an action profile, but it's certainly not an optimal group action. Yeah, so it might be that in this sentence that every individual fulfills her individual obligation, but that this combination of actions does not amount to a group action that is optimal, and thereby does not fulfill a group obligation. And the other way around is also possible.
I have more to say, but I'll pass on.
Well, when we come back to it. Okay, so Philip.
Well, I was just going to suggest an example that might help you make that compositional point, clear. There's an example, I think I've used elsewhere, building on an example of Frank Jackson. So suppose you've got cars going around a track, a racing track, right? There are lots of cars, and they're all going at a very high and dangerous speed. They're all doing 150 k's per hour or something as they go around the track. Now you might say this is really bad. These cars should slow down.
Yeah.
The optimal group action is that all of the cars would slow down at a certain rate. But it's not the case that the optimal individual action for any one car is that it slow down. Because if it slows down, not knowing what other cars are going to do, it can cause chaos. I mean, the car behind will crash into it and so on. So actually, looking from the individual point of view, the best thing for each car to do is to stay at a constant, albeit very high speed, right? The worst thing any one car can do treating other cars as parametric, right, is to slow down. But the optimal group action for the group of cars that we do with drivers is that they all slow down. But that actual, what's the optimal group action, therefore, includes the actions, the individual actions in it are all the individual non-optional actions.
Yeah, I think this is in group morality that the paper in the fashion.
As I said, Frank doesn't have quite them going around, but anyhow.
That might be a way to give flesh to this formalism, and it is a formalism. So in that sense,
I was just suggesting as a helpful example what we are explaining So what would be interesting is to tell us the significance of the result in terms of that example.
I would have to think about it. So I fear that I would just produce nonsense if I were.
It certainly illustrates the fallacy of composition and the fallacy of decomposition.
Yes.
I mean, as in the optional group action is composed of all the individually non-optional actions.
Yes.
And the individual optional actions are precisely the actions that are not components in the optimal group action.
This was actually where we started. This was the observation with which we started the paper, and then I thought, okay, we have to be more precise on what kind of coordination is needed to make sure that a group fulfills its group obligation. And in contrast to most coordination theorists, like what is happening in several work by Shelley, we assume that the members of the group are able to communicate and design a plan and agree on a plan. If you allow for that, then it is also possible not to accept their assumption that they have to agree on a single outcome. So we thought that was unrealistic, and what we wanted to do is to allow for a plan that gives the members of the group leeway, at least different options for action, but still we wanted to have this property that if everybody acts according to plan, then the group itself fulfills a collective obligation. And we noted that there were cases in which this was not true. Then we hunted for the characteristics, the formal characteristics that the plan must have in order to make sure that it has this property. And then
tell the example.
Oh yeah. I was just so basically you're saying the moment there are two strategies or that are both can be successful. The moment you can communicate and then agree on one, then that changes obviously what the individual what the member's obligations are, right?
Yes.
What that,
Yeah, and we wanted to know in what way this happens and whether we could say something systematically about it. So it should be noted that the theorem only works under lots and lots of idealizations, and these idealizations have to be relaxed in order to make this stuff more plausible or realistic. But I think this is the way to do, at least a formal philosophy, to try to do something small and then try to make it bigger. But we do not know yet in which direction we will take.
Can I just, so basically, I think so for moral philosophy, you would be saying sort of the relevant to sort of ascriptions of whatever blameworthy and etc. So if there's no possibility to communicate, obviously none of the individual members should be held sort of responsible, considered blameworthy. If they've happen to have chosen the option out of the set of two, that it ended up in a suboptimal group outcome. Is that, would you go that far?
Among other things, so if a group is faced with the situation that it has a collective obligation, then it can or cannot come up with a plan. If it comes up with a plan, then if the plan has these characteristics, then you know that if in the end the group does not fulfill its collective obligation, then it must be that some of the individual group members did not act according to plan. And this is a way in which you could say something palpable about the relation between collective responsibility and individual responsibility. On the other hand, if the group comes up with a bad plan, it might be that every group member acts according to plan, but the group itself does not fulfill its collective obligation. And then you can ask, but what goes wrong? And apparently, the design of the plan, the process in which the plan has been agreed on, there must have been some mistakes. It depends on the structure of the group, who is then responsible. If there is no plan, you can also ask yourself, did the group have the ability to design the plan? So I would, in the end, see this kind of research also to argue for a more fine-grained analysis of the various ways in which groups can be held responsible for certain outcomes, and in what way this responsibility implicates group members.
Yes.
Saba Zargan from UCSD. So the example of the people driving, that actually threw me for a loop, as it were. So I would have thought that's a case where it's something akin to what Virginia Hill calls a random collective, a random group of individuals. So there is nothing like a group agent here.
No.
To say that the group is responsible extends group responsibility even further than Philip does. I would have thought that these examples pertain to cases where there is a cooperative structure, where there is something that's eligible for group agency, and that would rule out the case of the people driving.
Okay, so in the system in which we proved it, we did not make any assumption about the structure of the groups. But in a sense you are right, because at the moment a certain plan has been accepted, and this plan is indexed. we assume that the members of G somehow form a group, form more than just a random set of individuals. So this result it makes use of quite a lot of assumptions. You need these assumptions to get the thing going. Initially, we do not say anything about whether these groups are structured or not. But at the moment when it's been accepted, then this holds for a certain specific group G. So I must say this.
So any further comments or questions?
Well, you could just think of an example where two people are required to, it was one that you used to lift a tree, right? And then you can imagine a scenario where they're not able to communicate, but each must grab one end of the tree. For some reason they can't see each other, so it's a stupid example, but different. But, so then either you go to that end of the tree or to this end of the tree, and the other person is the same. So only both end up at different ends of the tree can they lift it at the same time. So you're saying if they're able to communicate in a group, you could say, oh, if they have an obligation to lift the tree, let's say someone's being squashed by the tree. So if they happen to end up all both at the same end, then turns out, they can't fulfill the group obligation. That's sort of what you would probably be saying. If they both end up at different ends, they do. So there's two, obviously, versions of how they, two sort of optimal plans, depending on which end they are both, and two suboptimal plans, which they end up both at, one of the other of the two ends. So the thing is, I think a lot of moral philosophers would want to say the moment these people are not able to communicate about which end of the tree they're going to lift, then the group doesn't have an obligation. So it's not strictly speaking, it'd be a good outcome if they manage to lift the tree, but seeing that they're not able to communicate, we can't say they have an obligation. They have an obligation to try maybe. So I'd go to some end of the tree, try to lift it, and hoping that the other person is that lifting the other end. But so the moment, of course, we do communicate, and the moment we're able to communicate, then people will say, okay, there is an obligation given you can. So I guess moral philosophers would want to say something like, depending on whether or not you can agree on a group plan, you actually as a group have an obligation or don't. Does that make sense?
Okay, so yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, what we assumed was that there are action profiles that are deontologically ideal and not deontologically ideal, and on the basis of that we order the actions that are available to any random group. But these considerations that you, I think they are plausible, and the thing that is new here is that we indeed assume that the individuals in this coordination game are able to communicate. So the kind of coordination studies that have been done, so this is a famous example from Shelley to soldiers, they are dropped. They also have a medical situation, and the only thing that is on the map is a river and a bridge. They are dropped somewhere on the map, they don't know where, and one of the things they should do is to meet. And they are not able to communicate, so what do you do? The idea is, okay, they should meet at the bridge, and this is what each of the soldiers realizes, and in this way they solve this coordination problem. So much of the literature on coordination is about coordination between agents who are not able to communicate. And what we did is, in that respect, different, and we hope relevant to what moral philosophers.
I think we have to finish up there.
Yeah.
Thank you very, very much, both of you.